The world stood still on June 25, 2009, when the news of Michael Jackson's death spread like wildfire. The king of pop, a man who had captivated audiences for decades with his unparalleled talent, was gone. The shock was overwhelming, and the grief was palpable. As fans around the globe mourned, the investigation into the circumstances of his death began to unfold, revealing a dark and complex series of events that would ultimately lead to criminal charges against his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray. Dr. Conrad Murray was a cardiologist who had been hired to care for Michael Jackson during the preparations for his highly anticipated comeback tour. This is it. The tour was set to begin in London at the O2 Arena, and the pressure on Jackson to perform was immense. However, behind the scenes, Jackson was struggling with severe insomnia and a host of other health issues. Dr. Murray, who had been treating Jackson for several months, was the only person with intimate knowledge of the singer's condition and the methods he used to manage it. On the morning of June 25, 2009, Dr. Murray was in Jackson's bedroom at the Carrollwood Drive mansion in Los Angeles. Jackson had been experiencing difficulty sleeping, and Murray had administered a series of medications to help him rest. However, when Jackson failed to wake up, Murray realized that something was seriously wrong. He called 911, and emergency services arrived to find Jackson unresponsive. Despite their efforts, Jackson was pronounced dead at the UCLA Medical Center later that day. The immediate aftermath of Jackson's death was a flurry of activity. The Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, and the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office launched a full investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death. One of the key pieces of evidence in the investigation was a series of interviews with Dr. Murray, conducted by detectives from the LAPD. In these interviews, Dr. Murray provided a detailed account of his interactions with Jackson on the day of his death. He described how he had administered various medications, including the powerful anesthetic Propofol, to help Jackson sleep. Propofol is typically used in hospital settings for general anesthesia, and is not approved for use outside of a medical facility. Dr. Murray claimed that he had used the drug to help Jackson overcome his insomnia, but he was vague about the specifics of its administration and the protocols he followed. As the investigation progressed, the detectives became increasingly focused on the medical supplies that Dr. Murray had left at the Carrollwood mansion. These supplies, which included syringes, vials of medication, and other paraphernalia, were crucial to understanding the nature of the treatment Jackson had received in the days leading up to his death. Dr. Murray had mentioned that he had left 3 bags containing these items in a closet in Jackson's dressing room. On June 29, 2009, Detective Alyssa Fleek returned to the Carrollwood mansion to search for the bags. She found them exactly where Dr. Murray had described, in a closet on the top shelf. The contents of the bags were alarming. Inside, she discovered a collection of medical supplies, including multiple vials of Propofol, some of which were empty or partially empty. There were also other medications, such as lidocaine, midazolam, and lorazepam, all of which are used for sedation and pain management. The discovery of these medications, particularly the large amount of Propofol, was a significant turning point in the investigation. Propofol is a highly regulated drug, and its use outside of a hospital setting is strictly prohibited. The fact that Dr. Murray had been administering it to Jackson in a private home was a major red flag. The detectives also noted that the medications were stored in a manner that suggested an attempt to conceal them, further raising suspicions about Dr. Murray's conduct. As the investigation continued, other witnesses came forward with information that supported the detectives' suspicion. Alberto Alvarez, Jackson's bodyguard, testified that Dr. Murray had instructed him to hide the medication bags before calling 911. This testimony suggested that Dr. Murray was aware of the potential legal implications of his actions and was trying to cover his tracks. The toxicology report, which was completed several weeks after Jackson's death, provided the final piece of the puzzle. It revealed that Jackson had lethal levels of Propofol in his system at the time of his death, along with a cocktail of other sedatives. The report concluded that Jackson's death was caused by acute Propofol intoxication, and that the manner of death was homicide. Dr. Murray was charged with involuntary manslaughter in September 2009. The trial, which began in September 2011, was a media sensation. Prosecutors argued that Dr. Murray had acted recklessly and without regard for Jackson's safety, administering dangerous levels of Propofol and other sedatives without proper medical supervision. They also accused him of failing to call 911 in a timely manner, and of attempting to cover up his actions by hiding the medication bags. Dr. Murray's defense team argued that he had been trying to help Jackson overcome his insomnia, and that he had not intended to cause harm. They also suggested that Jackson had self-administered the Propofol, although this claim was largely discredited during the trial. The prosecution presented a wealth of evidence, including testimony from medical experts, forensic analysis, and the contents of the medication bags found in the closet. On November 29, 2011, after a 2-month trial, Dr. Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison and had his medical license revoked. The verdict brought a measure of closure to Jackson's fans and family, but it also raised questions about the broader issues of medical malpractice and the responsibilities of healthcare providers. Michael Jackson's death had a profound impact on the music industry and popular culture. In the weeks and months following his passing, his music experienced a resurgence in popularity. His album sales skyrocketed, and his songs dominated the charts. The public memorial service held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles on July 7, 2009, was a fitting tribute to a man who had touched the lives of millions. While the investigation and trial of Dr. Murray provided some answers, many questions about Jackson's final days remain. The legacy of the King of Pop lives on, a testament to his enduring influence and the lasting impact of his artistry. The story of Michael Jackson's death and the subsequent investigation serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of substance abuse and the critical importance of responsible medical care. In the end, Michael Jackson's life and death continue to resonate, a bittersweet reminder of the heights of human creativity and the fragility of the human condition.